All right, everyone, let's jump right in because what's happening in the pattern right now is setting the stage for a major shift. Multiple cold fronts are already lining up across the map, and the models are beginning to lock in on a system around November 9th to 10th that's looking seriously intense. One of those full-scale Arctic plunges that can grab the entire country at once. But before we get there, let's take a breath and zoom out for a full November overview, the big picture setup that's shaping this month, and even a quick peek into early December. Long-range outlooks are never exact science, but the real power lies in spotting consistent signals that repeat across model runs, the fingerprints of a pattern that's about to snap into place. Looking back at October, the contrasts were sharp. The West Coast and parts of the Southeast stayed a little cooler than normal, while most of the central U.S., especially from Texas through the Great Lakes, roasted under much warmer than average air. The heartland was practically summer in disguise. Now, as we slide into November, the script is flipping fast. A system is cutting across the deep south today, spreading rain from Florida to the Carolinas and even brushing up through the Delmarva region. Monday morning could start rough with gusty winds and pockets of heavy rain before that storm exits to the Atlantic, leaving behind the first meaningful cool down of the month. That's the opening act, our first front making its move. Then, by midweek, another front comes in right behind it, pulling more cool air into the northeast and mid-Atlantic, dropping temperatures again and setting up some scattered storms. Out west, though, it's a completely different story. It's storm after storm, heavy mountain snow, cold valley rain, and just an overall surge in Pacific energy crashing inland. And that's where things begin to spiral into something much bigger. By the time we hit November 9th, both the European and GFS models agree on one thing: a deep, strengthening low-pressure system developing near the upper peninsula of Michigan. That's the kind of setup that unleashes snow across northern Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the upper Midwest. And behind it, an authentic Arctic blast that dives south with no hesitation. You can literally trace the cold air eruption pouring straight out of Canada, flooding down into the central and eastern United States. Snow showers break out across the Great Lakes, parts of the Ohio Valley, and even into the Appalachian highlands of the Northeast. And if that's not enough, there's another twist. A fast-developing nor'easter could spin up along the East Coast right behind it, bringing heavy rain and even some early-season snow to higher elevations. It's the kind of one-two punch that defines early winter, a deep cold core followed by a coastal storm that seals the deal. But then, right after all that chaos, we'll get a quick warm-up around the 15th. One of those classic November flips where you're scraping frost off your windshield one day and wearing a t-shirt the next. That's the signature pattern this time of year. Whiplash weather, rapid swings between warmth and full-blown Arctic air. And while all that's happening, precipitation is going wild. The western U.S. is absolutely loading up on moisture. Mountains buried in snow, valleys drenched in rain. And even the Southwest is catching some action, which is great news for drought zones. From the Gulf Coast up through the Midwest and into the Northeast, rainfall totals are impressive, though the plains and Southeast may stay a touch drier for now. So here's where the calm really ends. Around November 9th through 12th, the upper atmosphere starts to buckle in dramatic fashion. The jet stream digs deep into the continental U.S., opening a direct highway for Arctic air to plunge southward. You can literally see it on the 500 millibar charts, those sweeping blue and purple shades diving from the Yukon straight into the Midwest. That's your cold engine firing up, and right at the base of that trough, another storm begins to take shape. The kind that doesn't just bring a breeze and a drizzle, but full-on blizzard conditions across the northern tier. Now, timing will matter. If this system slows down just a bit as it crosses the Rockies, it'll have more time to gather Gulf moisture, and that's how you get those heavy, sticky, heartland snowfalls that paralyze interstates overnight. But even if it moves fast, we're still talking about widespread snow from Montana to Michigan, with rain changing over to heavy wet flakes by Friday evening across the Great Lakes. Lake effect snow will go absolutely wild. Buffalo, Cleveland, Erie, and Traverse City could be under thick white bands as the colder air slams into warm lake water. This is the setup snow lovers dream about and commuters dread. Behind the snow, temperatures crash hard. Expect morning lows in the teens and 20s across the northern plains and upper Midwest, while even cities like St. Louis, Cincinnati, and Nashville dip into the low 30s by dawn. For perspective, that's 10 to 20 degrees below normal, and wind chills will make it feel even colder. For many, this will feel like the true start of winter, no question about it. And the snow doesn't just stay north. It's entirely possible we see flakes flying as far south as the Appalachians of North Carolina and the Ozark Plateau. Meanwhile, as that main system pulls northeast, it could deepen along the Atlantic coast, turning into our first nor'easter-style event of the season. Now, it's still too early to call it a full-on coastal bomb, but there are hints. If it tracks just 50 miles closer to the shoreline, we could see gusty winds, heavy rain, and some early snow mixing into Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and southern New England. These setups love to surprise. One small jog west and suddenly Boston is under a slushy blanket before Thanksgiving decorations even go up. But once that system pulls away, the backside brings something equally dramatic. The first widespread Arctic high-pressure dome of the season. That's when the atmosphere clears, winds die down, and overnight lows absolutely tank. Expect frost advisories and hard freeze warnings stretching from Kansas to the Carolinas. Farmers, gardeners, and anyone who thought fall had one more week left. That's your wake-up call. And yet, as extreme as this sounds, there's one more surprise waiting right behind it. The long-range models already show the next trough beginning to form near the Pacific Northwest around November 13th to 15th. It's like a conveyor belt of cold energy. One wave after another, each one reinforcing the chill that settles across the nation. The Rockies and Cascades will stack up multiple feet of snow through mid-November, turning ski resorts into winter wonderlands weeks ahead of schedule. Out east, the warmth tries to return briefly, but it's fleeting. Another cold shot is already poised to follow close behind. The short version, fall's holding pattern is officially broken. The mild October we just lived through is gone. What's taking its place is a fast-moving sequence of storms, cold fronts, and sharp temperature crashes. The kind of setup that keeps meteorologists awake at night and keeps the rest of us checking our windows every morning. And now we get to the heart of it, the coldest, most volatile part of this evolving pattern. As that Arctic air settles in during the second week of November, we'll see the nation divided into extremes. The western states keep their parade of Pacific storms, piling snow into the Sierra Nevada, the Wasatch, and the northern Rockies, while the east braces for repeated cold shots, sharp winds, and back-to-back systems rolling up the coast. This is when you wake up to frosted windows in the south and snowplows running in the north, when November stops pretending to be autumn and starts roaring like January. Let's talk numbers, because this isn't just chilly air. This is deep, dense Arctic air. By November 12th to 14th, widespread lows in the teens and single digits stretch across Montana, the Dakotas, and Minnesota. The Midwest feels it next. Chicago, Des Moines, and Indianapolis plunge 20 degrees below average, with wind chills flirting with zero. Over in the Appalachians and the Northeast, cold air meets moisture head-on, creating a mixed bag of rain, sleet, and early snow. Even areas as far south as northern Alabama and Georgia could experience freezing mornings. It's a coast-to-coast reminder that winter doesn't wait for December anymore. Now, something fascinating unfolds at the same time. The jet stream amplification creates a strong temperature contrast between the eastern chill and the lingering warmth over the southwest. That contrast becomes a breeding ground for another major storm to form around November 15th to 17th. Depending on where that trough sets up, it could mean another severe weather outbreak across the central U.S., or even a second nor'easter for the East Coast. These patterns like to repeat, and we're entering one of the most active transition periods in years. But the atmosphere isn't finished with surprises. Down south, the Caribbean and Western Atlantic are still cooking, and the latest satellite loops show a disturbance beginning to spin up near the Yucatan Channel. Models hint at tropical development that could interact with that very same cold front diving southward. If that happens, the U.S. could be staring at a rare November crossover event. Tropical moisture feeding directly into a continental storm system. Heavy rainfall, flooding, and strong winds could stretch from Florida to the Carolinas, depending on the track. It's not a guarantee yet, but it's on the table. The big takeaway here? The pattern is locked. The warmth that dominated October is gone, and what replaces it is a conveyor belt of cold, snow, and storms that won't give the country a break anytime soon. Western snowpack will surge, the Great Lakes will explode with lake-effect snow, and the East Coast will face its first true winter test well before Thanksgiving. From here on out, every front that moves through carries the potential to reshape travel plans, power demand, and even early-season snowfall records. By the time we reach the third week of November, another warm-up tries to fight back, but the cold air isn't done, not even close. If you're in the plains or the Midwest, keep your heavy gear out. If you're along the coasts, prepare for strong wind events and rapidly changing temperatures. And for everyone keeping an eye on the tropics, stay alert. Late-season storms can be sneaky, especially when they collide with early winter energy like this. So, to sum it up, we're heading into one of the most chaotic early Novembers in recent memory. freezing mornings, snow-covered highways, tropical disturbances flirting with the mainland, and the kind of temperature whiplash that defines the start of a true cold season. Keep the layers handy, keep your alerts on, and don't let the quiet days fool you.